Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Take Charge of Your Life. We had a good conversation last night. Hello, Dr. Ed.
Good evening.
Good evening. So tonight we are talking about mind-body health connections. And last night we talked about health in a hurry, and we ended up talking a lot about beans and how you can use beans. That wasn't all we talked about, but there was a lot of bean talk, and so it'll be fun to see what we come up with tonight. Um,
Guess what we had for breakfast this morning?
oh yeah,
We had
good.
garbanzo beans on toast.
All right, good. Well, before we get started, I'd like to introduce Dr. Ed Home to you, a little bit of his history if you didn't get it last night. So, Dr. Ed Home is a graduate at Pacific Union College. He finished medical school at Loma Linda University and did an internship at Kettering, Ohio. He also did a pediatric and internal medicine residency at Loma Linda University. And in 1971, he was privileged to marry Barbara Truitt, who is now Barbara Home, and I see her name up there. They went to Guam as missionaries for about, looks like about 10 years.
77 to 87.
They have a son and a daughter who are both grown, and now they have 6 grandchildren, all boys.
Yes.
He has also worked for the Far Eastern Division, which was in which country?
The headquarters is located in Singapore. It's been moved. Now it's somewhere else. But it was in Singapore when we were there.
And what did you do there?
I was working in what they call the health department. So I had a role in health education since I had a master's in public health. And then I had a role helping the physicians and their challenges in the Adventist hospitals in the Far East, which included all the way from Japan and Korea down to Sri Lanka. So it was a big territory.
Um, after coming back from there, he has been or was in private practice for how many years was that?
Close to 27.
27 years in Turlock, California. Retired in 2017, and now is very active in our health department, our health ministry at the Ceres Seventh Adventist Church. So we're glad to have Dr. Ed as a part of the team. It's really been a blessing. I'm going to have prayer, and then after prayer, this is a warning to those who might be watching on YouTube. I will give you the meeting ID number, and it is also listed there under the comments if you'd like to join our conversation. So grab a paper and pencil, and I'll give you that number in a minute. Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you for once again bringing us back together in this conversation of health and how we can prepare our bodies and live a stronger, healthier life. We pray that you be with us tonight and guide our conversation and help us to learn something that maybe we hadn't thought of before. In your name, amen. Okay, so for those that are on YouTube, the meeting ID number on Zoom is 824-4263 9418, and the password is Ceres with the capital C and then SDA, all capital. And that is listed under your comments. Just a reminder for those that are on Zoom, this is being recorded. It is live on YouTube. And if you choose that you don't really want your face on YouTube, go ahead and keep your video off. But we do definitely invite you to join the conversation. It helped a lot last night to have a little conversation at the end. So we do enjoy your conversations and your comments in the chats. And I am watching YouTube tonight, so so I can see both chats. So please make your comments. Dr. Ed, take it away.
You ready for me to share my screen?
Oh, not quite. Okay, now I am.
Okay. So I did this the wrong way last night. Let's see if we do it the right way tonight. So I'm just seeing PowerPoint. I don't see everybody else. So I must have pushed the wrong button here. Okay, share screen.
There you go.
Okay, now I can see everyone smiling. Um, I think the last 3 months, the last 4 months has been more challenging as far as trying to figure out why you just feel a little down, a little discouraged. And part of it has to do with some of the regular activities like getting together, going to church, and things like that have been sort of changed. And we're all sort of trying to find new ways to adjust. And this particular talk is about how our minds and bodies interconnect so that when we're not physically in good shape, our minds are harmed, and also our emotional health is harmed when we're not aware of how these other things can affect us. So I wanted you to know that science confirms the strong link between mindset and physical. In other words, our attitude, as well as our mental health. And the side here, as you can see, says, can attitude really make a difference in your health? Well, this dog, I'm not sure, is convincing us that his attitude is making a big difference. But our attitude is defined as our basic psychological state or our outlook on life. Someone once said that attitude is the librarian of the past and the speaker of your present and the prophet of your future. In other words, our attitude affects what we see from the past, how we recall things. It also affects how we look at things today, and it also helps us or can affect us as we look to the future. So our attitude is something we can change if we're aware of the fact that our attitude hasn't been as good as it should be. There are things that we can do. Attitude affects everything: how we resolve the past, how we live in the present, and how we anticipate the future. A person's psychological state is a prominent factor in their health. In fact, some people have said that half the people that are going to see their doctor are there because they're worried about something or another. They may have real health issues, but they may also have emotional issues, or they may be worried that they may be coming down with something. Every part of us is connected. We are not made up of isolated, disconnected pieces. In the big picture, attitude, our social network, and a healthy diet, which we talked about last night, are woven together in their importance for physical and mental health. This is from a PhD that's there on the slide, Catherine Tacey. These factors affect the immune system, which we hear a lot about as we've been fighting COVID-19, and the importance of a good immune system. So our attitude affects this and how much we care about our own health. You can get kind of discouraged and decide you don't really care about your health. So that's another thing that we need to keep in mind, is that it not only affects the way our body fights infection, but it also affects the way we take care of our own selves. Chronic negativity and pessimism affect not only physical and mental health, but how much a person cares about their health. When you understand your true value, your health becomes more important. Remember some of the texts that we read last night. We are the temple. God has designed our bodies and he wants to dwell with us. How much care are we putting into our health right now? Well, we have people that are signed up here and muted, and they are listening to this tonight, hopefully, so they can get uh, ideas that they can share or they can apply to themselves. Attitudes such as perseverance, under stress, optimism, and faith. These are important ones. And the three there listed again, faith, perseverance, and optimism, are linked to reduce stress-related conditions, heart disease, high blood pressure, infection, and general ill health. So being optimist or being optimistic actually helps you in that some of these other issues are less severe, and the way your body and how you deal with them also affects the outcome. So faith and perseverance, all important. I have to take a break here for a minute because my slide didn't move on my laptop. So I'm okay. Now I got it. So in addition to what we're talking about, there's faster wound healing, speedier recovery from illness when it does occur, better coping during sickness. Now, we're going to be talking a little bit more about some of the attitudes such as forgiveness, faith, optimism, perseverance under stress, and trust in God are all linked with reduced risk for maladies and countless stress-related conditions. And these have been studied scientifically too, and see where prayer can make a difference. In a world that wounds, there's a God who cares, has a plan, who places infinite value on every human being. Whatever situation you are in right now, you are still unique, special, and have potential. Steady state of worry, grief, anger, hostility, unforgiveness, hopelessness, and depression actually increase the risk of infection and inflammatory conditions. So these are the autoimmune issues and other sickness, and you do recover more slowly from illness as well when you're under these kinds of mental and physical stress. We always work, well, this is a kind of disclaimer which you hear often, is to be sure you don't just jump into making changes in your medical situation. Be sure and run it by your provider. Even when you're dealing with lifestyle changes, most of the time you can do this and they'll be happy to have you do it. But if you're going to make if you're struggling with depression, it's good to share some of that with the physician that you're working with. Many factors contribute to disease, but happy people get sick too. So just being happy doesn't guarantee that you won't have challenges. But at the same time, you do better when you are dealing with these in a better way. So again, tonight we're emphasizing the mental and physical combination, how they respond to each other. So trusting positive mindset is important to good health and recovery from sickness, as even some better known factors such as exercise and diet. So we hear about exercise and diet frequently, but knowing that our attitude also can affect how we recover is also important. Now, there's a play on words here, a worrywart. Most of the time you see a wart, you want to get rid of it. So do you have a worry wart that needs removal? In other words, do you make things bigger than they need to be? So sometimes we make mountains out of our molehills. A healthy mind does not mean ignoring the existence of problems. A healthy mindset does not require the absence of problems because no one is that privileged to not have some problems. So in order to have a healthy mindset, you you can have it even when you do have problems. Experiencing a healthy mindset requires a change in how we think and how we approach problems that do exist in our life. So we're not trying to tell people don't worry, but there is a balance, and that includes um, trust and doing the right thing with your physical health as well. Um, Practicing the following suggestions will help you tip your mental scales toward the positive side. So we're going to go through 7 for those of you that are making notes. 7 things that we can do to improve our mental attitude. So, other than missing a tooth, what do you notice about this young lady? She's smiling. No one's suggesting that we smile inappropriately in the middle of a crisis. You know, if somebody just lost their spouse, you wouldn't go over there with this kind of a look on your face. But at the same time, often we get ourselves sort of thinking about things and we're so caught up in our own issues that we're not realizing that our own look on our face is something can make a difference. Now, sometimes just smiling at somebody else in line will make a difference. They may be having a rough day, and just the look on your face will help them. And it not only lowers stress and improves the outlook, but it also is an inexpensive way to improve your looks. For those of you that haven't been able to go to the hair salon recently, just smile. It's
And now
amazing fact. Yes, did you say something, Kara?
I was just going to say, now they're talking on the news how we need to learn how to smile with our eyes because we have a mask on. So you have to
That's true.
express that smile in your eyes as well.
So you're going to have to work harder at that smile if your
Yeah.
eyes are going to show it.
Yeah. Yeah.
The amazing fact is that adopting a pleasant expression and smiling more actually lowers our stress hormones. So sometimes we need to be doing something as simple as smiling more. In fact, the person that put this talk together put a comment in here that when she sees everybody on Zoom smiling, it actually helps her get through the lecture, the stress of the lecture. So our next one, there's 7 steps, and the first one was smiling. This next one is expressing gratitude. People who focus on blessings instead of burdens tend to live longer, healthier lives, have stronger bones, fewer heart attacks, and lower blood pressure. So this is saying thank you and going maybe out of your routine to let people know. My wife and I have been doing something in the evening for the last month. Um, we are looking for something from the past to be grateful for, and something that surprised us with the day that we just had. And then we're sharing with each other what we're looking forward in the next week or the next couple days. So we've been writing that down, and then we take turns sharing it, and it does make you focus because sometimes you kind of forget those things that went really well, and by sharing them with somebody, it helps lift both of us. Actively expressing gratitude is a powerful buffer against mental depression, and physical illness. So sometimes we get caught with kind of what we call negative talk. When things don't go right, we play them over and over and over again, and they take over most of our thinking. So by making a list of daily blessings is a way of finding calmness, and actually helps us with problem solving and lowering stress. So this isn't just a game, it's something that actually works. And you can start your day with 5 things that you're thankful for before you even get out of bed, if that's a better time of the day. So we did smiling and expressing gratitude. And our next one is focusing on the positives. Um, some people are really good at focusing on the positives. In fact, you're around them much, you realize they are positive people. And they choose to kind of talk about what is going well and what they're enjoying. Continually ruminating over negatives dampens the brain's problem solving. Try reframing the situation. Ask yourself, what were the bright spots, the blessings and lessons that I'm learning? We all learn from mistakes, unfortunately, but every human being does make mistakes. So we don't need to beat ourselves up when we make a mistake, but we can focus on what we can learn. Attitude is the one thing humans have great control over. Concentrating on solutions instead of problems dials down the negative thinking. Have you found yourself stuck in a negative loop of worry? There's a lot of things out there now. If you're watching social media, they just are enjoying spinning the dial of worry, coming up with something else every single day. Repeating God's promise is a great way to break this dead end thinking. All right, we're going to move to number 4, focus on the positives. And now we're going to talk about forgiveness. Now, we sometimes think that we need to, if someone has harmed us or made us upset, they need to come to us and ask for forgiveness. Unfortunately, frequently the person that's been hurt hangs on to this, and it actually hurts them more when they can't release it or give it up. So harboring anger and grudges damages our heart health, raises blood pressure, hinders our mental well-being. It damages the immune system, saps our energy, destroys peace. Forgiving allows you to let the injury go, whether it is a life-changing traumatic event or a small irritation that occurs on a daily basis. So we do ourselves a favor when we forgive someone else. We help ourselves get out of the ditch. It's nice when you can resolve something between people, but sometimes they're not willing. We still can forgive them. And an act may not be excusable. It may be something that was really wrong and really bad, but in spite of that, it's still forgivable. A healing spirit of forgiveness is a gift that God will impart to all who ask. So God knows all about us, and He knows that we harm ourselves when we hang on to our hurts. So this is a gift. Sometimes you don't feel like doing it, but God will give it to us, and He has forgiven us every single day for all sorts of things. So He's our example of the great forgiver. Have you found that one of the toughest things to do is forgive yourself? Even little mistakes can create internal monologues of negative self-talk that create a cycle of discouragement and defeat. God is ready to forgive abundantly in mercy, not willing that any should perish. Those are from Psalms and from Peter. Because God forgives, he can give us a forgiving attitude for others as well as ourselves. Healing, restoration, and cleansing is the heart of the gospel of love. As we receive these undeserved gifts, it's easier to forgive others. So sometimes people are stuck with things that are genuinely bad, things that did not turn out the way they wanted. And it can be something that drags them down, and sometimes it's hard for them to reach out to others because they're so involved with what happened to them. So sometimes we have to help people with that. Now we have somebody here that hasn't given up. I don't know how many of you remember when you learned to walk, but there were a few stumbles. And the message here is get up and don't give up. And the comment here is do you make mistakes? Mistakes are opportunities to learn more about ourselves, gain experience, discover new resources, and gain strength. God can turn our frustration into motivation and your mess into a miracle. So those are the persistence of going ahead and getting up and not giving up. Important lesson for us and for many people that are successful. Successful people are not mistake free. They just refuse to give up. Learning from mistakes is part of the mechanics of everyday life. Now, I'm not asking you to raise your hand here, but can any of you think of a mistake you made that taught you some valuable lessons? I sure can. And they cause you to move forward with a new and better plan. So mistakes are part of the journey. They're not the end. And maybe at a time the situation wasn't funny, but even now you look back at it, you can actually smile at the remembrance. Choosing to adopt a learning mindset takes time and determination, but it will put the oil of enthusiasm into everyday life experiences. So that's an important lesson. Okay, we're in number 6. This has to do with taking care of yourself. Nurture your brain and your body. What health habits boost brain power? Well, we know it's beans, right? Beans boost brain power, as do nuts. So eating well and healthier is a way to add those nutrients that your brain needs to function at its optimum. It's asking me to ask you a question here. What are you already doing that you know improves your mental and physical health? I'm supposed to wait for a response. So let's see. Good, Kara's going to share something here.
Well, one thing I do is take a walk. It just uh, really can help adjust my mind to a brighter outlook. If I go for a brisk walk, I suddenly can start thinking better, and it definitely boosts my mood.
Well, that's a good one. Do you have a track around the church there?
Yes, actually. And also here at the house, we live across the street from a park, so I go round and around the park. And now I have a dog that pulls me around and around the park. But it's I can definitely tell a difference in my
Okay.
mental outlook after taking a good walk.
We may joke about it, but it's really important. And Pastor Ted, I see your face there, so that maybe you're ready to say something too.
No, just one of the things that you mentioned, that just thinking about the positives around you, the positives in other people. It's amazing how much it helps just to focus on what is positive that is happening.
Yeah,
when
it's
you
a
can't
choice.
do that, you pray that you can, but it's powerful.
That's a choice too. Sometimes, because it's sometimes easier to get people to listen to you if you have a list of complaints, but sharing the positives is also very good. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
I also like to take a walk. That really helps me a lot.
Okay, Shelley, you took a walk. Now you just had a wedding. Did you take a walk after the wedding?
I've taken not directly after the wedding, although I was running around enough that
You didn't. You didn't. You were doing a run instead of a walk. Well,
no,
thanks.
I took a walk earlier today for a short one.
Yeah, we kind of miss our walk. If we don't get it in, we're kind of like, oh, bummer.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one has to do with healthy life choices. And last night we talked about the fresh fruits and vegetables and adding uh, particularly beans to replace some of the other things and to stay away from those things that were high in calories like the salad dressings. And we last night we said raw, raw, raw for the salads because that's the way you want your salads. So, um, healthy lifestyles, we kind of know what we're talking about here: nutrition, exercise, and rest. They also have a powerful effect on the mind body connection. Eating whole grains, fresh fruits, vegetables, nuts, and beans has a long term mood and brain boosting effect that no cake snack can rival. Drinking water instead of caffeinated and sugary beverages improves alertness naturally. So those sodas, even though it's kind of nice for a break once in a while, they're not as good as plain water. Adequate rest is essential for resting fatigue, resisting fatigue and irritability. And daily exercise, especially in the sunshine and fresh air, has a calming, stress lowering effect, often more powerful than the medications we call antidepressants. Okay, this is one that the community services people would like to hear about, and that is one of the ways of reducing the stress and getting our life in better balance is getting busy about others. Um, Taking care of our health is good, but thinking about planning and caring for others is one of the best ways to avoid becoming overly self focused and ultimately miserable. It takes less than a minute to open a door for someone, but these little courtesies help others in while you're boosting your own health and your own well being. Those who spend regular time helping others improve quality of life and cut their overall risk of death by 35%. So it is not just doing something kind for someone else, it's actually improving your own life and your own quality of life. There's scores of church and civic organizations designed to provide opportunities to help others who are in need. The blessings bounce back. Studies show that those who spend regular time helping others not only cut their overall risk of death, but also improve heart and immune health. So sometimes the thing that we may not be doing is spending time helping others. Our next slide here is about trust in God, the most potent weapon against mental and physical illness. Now, God wants us to bring our concerns to Him. And sometimes when we have a lot of fear and anxiety, we are spinning and around, spending what energy we have, not solving things at all. But when we can turn them over to God, that can give us a big sense of relief. Um, do you need a spirit of hope today? Do you need trust? Do you need help? And this is from Romans 15:13. God wants to fill you with all joy and peace in believing that you may abound in hope. So this text is reminding us He wants us to have joy and peace, and hope is something that He provides. God is a God of hope, and He has promised to fill you with hope and peace as you put your trust in Him. This is a text from Psalms 62. Verse 8, trust in him at all times. You people, pour out your heart before him. God is a hiding place for us. Now, David was very honest with his journey in the Psalms, and he was not afraid to share any feeling or any concern he had with his Heavenly Father. He shared it. What does it mean that God is a hiding place? What does that mean to you, that God is a hiding place? Anybody unmuted enough to share? Yeah. Ted?
When I think of a hiding place, it's some place where you can run for security. So if you have a little child and there's a big dog, they're going to run to their parents, and once they're under the parent's shadow, they're feeling safe because somebody's going to protect them. And that for me is where you have that relationship with God, where you go running to him, and you find in him that place of security.
Yeah, that's something that is very powerful when we got ourselves in a situation where we don't know the answer. God becomes that place that we can safely go to, and though he may not reveal the answer right away, we know he cares and he's listening, and we can ask him for guidance. Well, this is our last slide tonight, and it says, God has strength and help for you today, a plan for your future, and a hope for eternity. So the idea with this is when we're not keeping up physically and mentally and spiritually, we find ourselves in a ditch. And God provides strength and help for us today, and a plan for the future, and a hope for eternity. So no matter what the challenges we're facing, there is a God that cares, and a God that has a plan for us and a future for us that's not just dealing with the virus, fortunately. In summary, they provided me a summary here. I'm going to just quickly go through it. A person's psychological state is a prominent factor in health. And attitudes such as perseverance, under stress, optimism, and faith are linked to reduced stress-related conditions, such as heart disease, high blood pressure, and general ill health. So our attitude can make a difference. Steady state of worry, grief, hostility, unforgiveness, hopelessness, and depression increases the risk of infection and inflammatory conditions and disease. So if we find ourselves in that state, it's important for us to find some solutions for that so that it doesn't affect our health, because there is a body-mind connection. And then when positive people do get sick, there are things that you can do to kind of tip the scales in a positive direction. Smiling more, writing down 3 things that you're thankful for every day, focusing on positives, concentrating on solutions instead of problems, learning to forgive others and to forgive yourself. It's a gift from God. Get up and don't give up when you make a mistake. And then there are things that we can do to improve our nutrition and our rest and exercise to keep ourselves in maximum health. And then the part that was important, I thought, was getting busy with others, to focus on others and their situation, because frequently we'll find that our situations aren't near as bad as some of the others. And then they want us to remember to, when you're making changes, major changes, be sure that you're sharing these with your healthcare provider. So I'm going to open this up for some discussion. What did you learn, or what kinds of things can you share from your own experience that would be helpful to those that are going to listen to this later or listening tonight?
I thought maybe I'd be a little bit vulnerable and share something that I have done. When you talk about focusing on solutions, to make that is definitely how I function. I'm a problem solver kind of person. And when all of this COVID thing started, I have to be real honest, I got a little scared and started thinking they were talking about, maybe 50% of Americans getting sick. I started worrying about my family, how we were going to, how I was going to get it and survive this with our family intact. And I needed some sort of plan. And I'm a problem solver, and I knew that like if Fred or I get sick, we need to separate so that we're not breathing on each other. So I did something kind of crazy, and I built a tent on our patio. So now we have a quarantine tent out there that fortunately we haven't had to use yet. But just the action, taking that action to try and solve something that I saw as a problem really helped my anxiety about everything that was happening. Once that tent was up and I could see that we had a solution for at least one of the issues that we could deal with around here, it really helped. And it still stands right now. But yeah, just focusing on the solutions, that really resonates with me.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Kara. I saw one Zoom program where you were in the tent, and I was trying to figure out, were you camping somewhere? Where did the tent come from? So
yeah, and actually it's turned into more right now. I've just been crafting, and I did a lot of sewing for headbands for nurses and stuff out there. So I mean, I'm putting it to use, but the real purpose was to create a quarantine space to try and save my family. I needed to do something to in response to everything that was happening.
well, that's a good one. I already shared with you earlier on the little exercise that Barb and I learned from Dr. Morton, who's a health prevention person from Avondale College, and he's had a program for 20 minutes every week for the last 10 weeks. And it was his strategy to help us think about the past, the good things from the past, and to think about today. What really surprised me today? And it's things like Barb found her sunglasses after 2 weeks of being missing, and sometimes they're kind of small, but at the same time they do boost your spirit when you realize not everything went bad today. And then you focus on the future too, because it's important to have a positive attitude about what you're looking forward to. Barb, you need to unmute. Oh, you want to come in here?
We also have a comment here in the chat from Kim. She said she can relate to my comment, but her response was to organize her pantry. So organizing things, it does help me relax when I have things, and just take the time to get things organized into little boxes or whatever. That lowers my stress. So I can understand why she would do that.
Well, I went to boarding academy, and the activity I did once every 6 weeks was to organize my drawers. And just knowing the drawers were in order, then I went home for vacation. I came back and everything was where it's supposed to be. So I'm also sort of my office is sort of cluttered, but it does give me a sense of relief when even a small thing is in better order. So thank you for sharing that, Kim. We probably need to have you come over and organize our pantry. Do something for others. That's supposed to be good for all of us. Barb, I might be able, can I unmute Barb from here?
I should be able to do that.
Okay, she's coming.
I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah. You can stay here for a second.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how to to. I'm on Zoom, but I don't know how to get on to talk. Whoops.
come on then, Barb.
Can you undo it? Oh, here it is.
I can unmute you, but here you're here already, so
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Oh, right, because that one's undone. I just overheard some of the comments and that suggestion for reaching out to other people, and that's been very helpful. I think for me to not feel just in kind of a slump with not being able to go and out as much as or visit or go places. When we've been walking around the park, we've met up with several young families that have little kids, and I've left a little strawberry basket of chalk at the end of our walkway. And so I've told them, as you're coming by, you're welcome to, draw or leave notes. And so I just, one of them just left a note there yesterday, said, thanks for the flowers. And so because I've told them to help themselves with the gardenias. And then another family we have gotten to know fairly well. We never knew them before. And so their girls come by regularly and get flowers and snails. They like snails. So we said, help yourself. But we leave little messages for each other and write on them on the sidewalk. So that's been good. And then going and dropping things off to neighbors or church members to stop just thinking of ourselves has been helpful.
Do you need any more snails to hand out?
No, I think we're good. I'll let you know though if we run out.
There's a comment here from Kim. These Zoom meetings, I think, have been comforting as well. Seeing people online that I know and seeing and hearing, they are okay too. She feels like that is comforting for her to just be able to see people.
It does help.
And she likes your idea of the sidewalk messages.
Mm-hmm. I'd show a picture of, I'll put it on my Facebook, Kim. I don't know if you're a Facebook friend with me, but you can look me up and message me to be a friend, and that way you can see my pictures. Because I put another one, the message before this, but they get washed off twice a week because of our sprinklers. But one was, free flowers and snails, was one of them, one of the messages that I put out there recently. And then another thing we've done is have several people that we've invited to come to our backyard, and just a small family, like a person with maybe 1 or 2 kids, and they kind of sign up for a time that they can come over. And we've had 4 different family groups who have come at one point of time or another, not at the same time, and we don't go out. We're not out there entertaining or visiting, but we're just letting them come and have another space to come. In fact, one of them with a school nurse friend of mine and her 2 boys are coming on Thursday for a couple hours. So that kind of stuff helps.
I was going to pick on Sherry Nelson because I know she has a high-powered job. And I was wondering if there's any special things. Go ahead.
What was your question, Doctor?
You have a high-powered job, and I was wondering what you do for helping with stress and mental health.
Well, I'll say for COVID, which was interesting because I had the option to stay home or go into work because it was an essential job. And I chose to go into work because I liked, you know, the routine of seeing everybody and being there with everyone. So that was good. And then when I get stressed, thank God it doesn't last for long. I just kind of, realize that nothing is too hard for God to handle. And even if it's something that seems very, very difficult, that in prayer, and, I'll pray with my husband, Chris, or ask him to pray for me and with me. And that is comforting to me. So I don't let too many things get me down, and I don't really dwell on them, like just think about them over and over and over. Sometimes they'll come to mind, but I mean, I don't try to keep on rehearsing things. I try to think about other things.
You have muted already. You have to go.
Some sort of feedback.
Well, I unmuted her phone, and now she wants to talk. And she came in here, and now we're getting all sorts of feedback. So I was trying to help her. I think you can talk, Barb.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I was just going to share a couple other things too that I think have been helpful for both of us, is that we have really taken the opportunity and actively looked for ways of getting more information, more knowledge, more exposure to understanding what is happening, not only with the COVID situation, because we have listened to a number of presentations that have been either Zoom or on YouTube, but also within the racial unrest and all of this, the social justice issues. We have spent a lot of time watching something, listening to dialogues, and doing some reading on all of those topics. And so that's been helpful too, because if we weren't kind of more confined, we might find ourselves distracted and, kind of like we're busy and not taking the time. So that's been very valuable to have done that as well.
Anybody else have something they want to share?
I would just agree with what Barb said. Knowledge is power, and it's also even if it's a hard thing to learn, it's still better than not knowing sometimes. Like waiting to find out if you have cancer. You want to know the answer. You want to know the information. Yes or no, and if I do, what do I do from here? It lowers my anxiety when I have more information.
When we see you put up another tent, Carol, we'll be worried.
I've got several.
Okay, well, I'm willing to have prayer here, and we don't have a presentation on health tomorrow. There's a prayer meeting Zoom that will be taking place, and at the 7:00 time, so you're welcome to join that. And then Kirsten Ferguson will be leading out on vegetarian eating on Thursday. And then Pastor Ted has one that has to do with stress, I believe, on Friday. So thank you all for joining, for sharing your thoughts. And this has been recorded on YouTube, so if you have some friends that want to learn more about it, you can direct them that way. Father in heaven, we thank you that you have designed us in such a way that you know how we tick and what is important for us to do in order to find happiness and find a solution for the stresses and things that come our way. Lord, I thank you that we have these presentations that have been prepared to help us understand the connection between the mind and the body. Help us to practice these ourselves and help us to be able to share them in a positive way with those around us. Help us to find those activities that will bring us joy when we're helping others as well. In thy name I pray. Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Ed, for that. And just as a reminder, what he already just said is we will be taking a break tomorrow night, but we will be back here on Thursday with Kirsten Ferguson, who is a nurse, who is a RN studying to be a nurse practitioner. So that will be a kind of a different change of pace, and we will. Dr. Ed, will you be with us that night?
Tomorrow is Wednesday. On Thursday, we're going to Carmel for our 49th anniversary. We gave up on Yosemite after getting up at 7 in the morning and not being able to get a spot. Barb found a place at 50% over there, so we probably won't be here Thursday, but we should be back Friday.
All right. Well, have a wonderful trip and happy anniversary.
Thank you. Have a good evening, everyone.
Good night.